How I apply my fragrance. J-ROYL's tips for fragrance application. Hello everyone, welcome back to J-ROYL. This is Tuesday, which means it's J-Talk. It's time to have a J-Talk about fragrance application. Now for the inexperienced fragrance user, you may not know some of the basic rules of fragrance application. Practice good hygiene, stay clean. There's nothing worse than a fragrance on top of an unfortunately fragrant BO smell. Wash your body regularly, please, for the sake of everyone on planet Earth. Don't overspray. You don't want to be the cologne guy. You don't want to smell like a Sephora exploded on you. That sounded weird. Don't underapply, because if you're underapplying, what's the point? If people can't smell you, that's, you know, sucks for you. Be aware of pulse points. Places in your body that emit heat, which allows the fragrance to be reinvigorated throughout the day. So you get to experience it several times. Sometimes you can spray your clothes. I only recommend spraying your clothes if, one, the fragrance is completely transparent and it won't stain you, but also only spray your clothes if the fragrance is linear and one-dimensional. Because the fragrances that develop, they usually need to develop on skin. So if it's just sprayed on the clothes, it may not necessarily get to do that. Those are the basics, and if you don't know, now you know, friend. For my personal tip, it's a J-ROYL exclusive, excuse me, priming and top coating. Now you may or may not know that I'm a painter by trade. I do manage a painting business. Now in painting, we apply primers before top coats to allow the product to adhere to the surface better. What I find with fragrances is you can apply your fragrance on a spot and your clothes, or even passing by someone, you can rub it off. Priming is a technique that I used, which essentially is double layering your fragrance. You have two layers of that same fragrance, the first layer penetrating into your skin and then the second layer sitting on top projecting. It gives you a better shot at allowing that fragrance to last on your skin. I have Mugler cologne here. I spray it once, I let it set into my skin, I let it soak, dry down a little bit, and then right before I go out, I give it a top layer. What this does is it ensures that I have a nice amount of fragrance on the skin. It also kind of melds the dry down and the opening as well. You can also prime your body by doing a bit of a general mist, just to sort of distribute the fragrance underneath your clothes. Let it settle, let it marinate a bit, and then you can top coat over top. Now top coating gets a bit more interesting because it gives you the opportunity to start layering your fragrances. Normally I don't like to layer. I like fragrances to do their own thing, get their own limelight, but in some cases I do like to mix it up a little bit, and top coating allows me to do that. So last week I released my top 5 Prada fragrances, and I definitely talked about these guys. The way that I use these two is I'll start my day with Luna Rossa. It's very soapy, fresh. I find it really works in a slightly milder climate, so a morning time would be great, morning dew. But when it gets a bit hotter, maybe I'd want Luna Rossa Sport O. I'll start with this guy, and then I'll reapply around lunch with this guy. So that's where top coating can be kind of fun. You start with one fragrance that has a little more to it and lasts a bit longer, but you still get to capitalize with some awesome top notes on other fragrances. Let me show you some examples of good primers. Another example of primers and top coats that I use, L'Eau de Sepia Homme Isemiyaki and the Summer Edition. So of course, I'll start my day with the very nicely longevity-ness of the original, and then around lunchtime, I'll put the summer on. So again, same principle. Better performance, better longevity, but nicer opening, nicer top note. So once I apply this on top, they'll meld very nicely because, again, they're very similar fragrances, but there's just slight differences that work better in slightly different conditions. For me, I try not to layer because I'm too chicken to mess with the perfumers out there. I trust that they know what they're doing when they make one of these. When I do layer fragrances, I tend to go with flankers. I tend to go with fragrances that have the same DNA, so it's kind of a no-brainer. I know they'll work together because they're cut from the same jib In summarization, if that's the word, spray your skin, let it settle down, and then give it a nice little top coat. You can also try experimenting with similar fragrances, flankers of the same fragrance, a little bit later on to create a more dynamic top coat. Feel free to try out these techniques for yourself. All of our links to social media are down below, and if you like what you see, then go ahead and click the subscribe button. Bell. Goodbye. Still got it.